Hi there, welcome to the channel or welcome back. I'm Angela, and today we're going to do something a little different here on the channel. We are going to sew together. If you have a project you're working on and you just want to keep each other company, then let's do it. I am working on Kwik Sew 2875. I'm doing the hoodie, and I haven't even cut the pieces out yet. I'll show you what I have done. So I did have to make some alterations or adjustments to the pattern, and this is what I've done here. I traced the pattern and did a little bit of a full bust adjustment here. I also had to do some grading. So I cut a large at the shoulder, grading out to extra large here at the side seams. So just a little starting point of where I'm at. I'm going to get my fabric laid out and lay my pieces out and start cutting. And I invite you guys to grab your project and we'll work together. And one other thing before I get my fabric laid out, I have decided to go ahead and do a mock-up of this first before cutting into my good fabric, because my good fabric, I love it so much and I don't want to risk ruining it or making mistakes. So I grabbed a piece out that it's a little thinner, it's lighter weight, but it has the same kind of a drape to it. And another reason I wanted to do a mock-up first is that this pattern, the Kwik Sew pattern, actually calls for a knit fabric. So it could get a little tricky. And thought, well, I better go ahead and just do it in this piece. I'm not crazy about this piece of fabric. I probably was just going to try to donate it anyway. So I thought, yeah, I'll just use this for my mock-up. And that'll tell me, you know, if a woven is going to work for this pattern. And if my sizing adjustments make sense as well. Let's jump in. And you guys might have heard me say this before on the channel here, but I am still a pen and scissors girl, except for quilting, and then I use my rotary cutter and, you know, ruler. But when I'm cutting out garments, by and large, I'm definitely a, you know, a pen and scissors girl. I don't know if that's because that's the way I learned and I feel more comfortable doing it that way, or it could be that there's just something nostalgic about it that I really love. But truthfully, like, truth be told, I feel like the main reason I stick to the pen and scissors, even though I have tried using rotary cutter with garment sewing, I don't feel like I personally have as much control when I am using the rotary cutter. I mean, of course, it's different with quilting when you have the hard plastic ruler there that really kind of locks you in. You don't have to worry so much about control. Boy, this fabric is really slippery. It's kind of loosey-goosey, and I'm having to really fiddle with it. And this doesn't have to be perfect, of course. It's mainly just to make sure that a woven will work and that my adjustments were good. And I would actually like to lengthen this if I can on the good fabric. Right now on this practice piece, it doesn't matter so much. But if I have enough fabric and I'm able to lengthen it just a little bit, that sure would be nice. We'll see. This might be only just the second time I've sewn with a Kwik Sew pattern. I'm trying to think of what the first one was, and it's escaping me. But I find it interesting that there really weren't any markings on the pattern, which is over there, the one I traced from. There were no like notches, which this is a simple garment. It doesn't really need to have the notches. I just found that to be pretty interesting. Also, they only do 1/4 inch seam allowances. So one thing that I did in addition to my sizing adjustments, I went ahead and added on 3/8 extra seam allowance because, you know, old dogs can learn new tricks, but I still like my 5/8 inch seam allowances. So I did add that on extra. I'm going to get this cut real quick. I know the scissors are kind of making a little bit of noise here. And I might have to move the camera just a little bit because I need to be standing right here to cut this last little section. So apologies for that. And I'm only doing the front, 2 pieces in the front, and then the back, 1 piece cut on the fold for this little test mock-up here. I'm not going to do the sleeves. I know that I will have to make some adjustments to, I'll have to make some adjustments to the sleeve pattern piece because of all the adjustments I made here on the arm size section, but I'm going to worry about that when I get to it. Right now I just am worried about how the front and back fit. So this was my back, and it was cut on the fold. And we'll see how far we get today. We might just get as far as getting the front pieces and back basted together, try it on, and see where we stand. This little hoodie here is intended to be one of my vacation pieces that I'm making. Oops. Okay, so there's the back. And let me lay out for the front. Let me know what you guys are working on in the comments. I'd love to know. It's always so much fun to see what other people are working on. I can't remember where I bought this fabric from, but I haven't been crazy about it. I'm sure it was an online purchase, and from the beginning I wasn't too crazy about it. It's one of those where the pictures in the listing looked much better than the fabric does in real life. Don't you hate when you get one of those kind of disappointments? But it should work out fine for this purpose. And I'm going to try to still maximize my usage in case there would be enough to donate. Might be able to do this. There was like 2.5 yards of this, I think. But if I could get by with just using a yard of it roughly, then there's enough left for somebody to do something with. Okay, I think that's going to work. Even when I did my full bust adjustment here, I kind of just eyeballed it. I don't know. I feel like I've totally lost all my, not perfectionism, but, oh, I got to do this and it has to be just right. And right now it's like, just get it done. I feel like if I get another win, another finish under my belt, so to speak, I'll get my sojo back. Do you guys ever have that where you've just totally lost interest in sewing? And it could be just because I'm, worn out from everything else going on in life, or the heat. Are you guys having this massive heat wave in your area? It seems like a lot of the U.S. is undergoing right now. It's brutally hot, and I'm dreading seeing our next electric bill. Okay, so let's get this one cut. I might end up moving the camera just a little bit again. I apologize, you guys. And back to the other side one more time. Thanks for bearing with me. I didn't even bother to iron this fabric. This is just such a rough little mock-up here. Sometimes that's all you need. Boy, I feel like I'm really butchering this. I'm just in such a hurry to get this test fit done. All right. And if I decide to mock up the sleeves after all, that'll be easy enough. And I've got plenty of fabric. I still have probably 1.5 yards fabric left. So that will not be an issue at all. And from this point, it's basically get the shoulder seams done and side seams, and then we'll see, how everything's laying. And I'm just going to baste it using my regular machine. And I'll take you guys over there with me for that. This is definitely going to need to be pinned together, though. This fabric is slippery. I had originally thought about doing the mock-up out of a nicer fabric, something that maybe I would want to wear if it turned out pretty well, but then I changed my mind. It can be hard to get everything lined up when the fabric's moving around on you. And because it's so slippery, I'm a little worried that the pins are going to come out of it. I'm just going to pin the one shoulder first, get that basted, come back, pin the other shoulder, and get that basted. So if you guys are ready, I am going to get you set up over at the sewing machine. So I'll be right back. I think this is a polyester, and it just doesn't even feel very nice. I'm going to get this other shoulder seam pinned up, and I will meet you back at the sewing machine. Okay, let's head back over to the table. I'll get these sides pinned up. And once these are stitched in, I'll have a much better idea of if I'm on the right track or not. And once we get to a stopping point with this, I wanted to show you a couple of things about the Kwik Sew pattern in case you've never sewn with one. They're a little bit different than most of the quote-unquote big four patterns, just the way that the paper is and the way the instructions are written. I thought it's kind of interesting, so I'm going to share that with you before we sign off. Now let's head back over to the sewing machine, get this side stitched up, basted, and then we'll do the other side. This fabric is shifting a lot. But I keep telling myself that it doesn't matter so much for this mock-up. Okay, back over here at the table. Get this side pinned up. Normally when I do muslins, I just use muslin fabric, but that really doesn't have any drape at all, so I didn't think it would really be a great representation of how this is going to look. And then I stumbled across this fabric when I was looking through my box of fabrics that I plan to donate or sell, and thought this would be good enough for this purpose. My kind of intention with those fabrics is to list them on Destashify, but I haven't done that yet. All right, this will be it. Our last thing to stitch up before we try it on. Okay, sorry about that. I had an alarm going off on my phone and I didn't want it to interfere. I had to restart the video. Okay, we're done. Let's try it on. So I brought you over here to my full-length mirror. Take these pins off before something bad happens. And let's see what we've got going on here. Oops, I had a pin stuck in. Get that out. And it is a hoodie, so it's supposed to come up close around the neck. At first I felt like even when I was cutting out the pieces, I thought the neck was so high, but that's because it's, a hoodie. And it will have a facing that goes down the front center. No closures. I don't think it might have a tie or something, or a snap up here at the top, but so I feel pretty good about it. The one thing that's catching my eye is right under here, and I think that needs to come in some, not too much, just a little. Yeah, for sure. The back, from what I can see from my vantage point, looks okay. Of course, I won't know until I edit the video. Although I'm noticing down here at the bottom that it is, sorry if you guys can't see, it's sitting a little higher in the front than it is in the back. So I think that I'll have to address that. But overall, I'm feeling pretty good. It does need the tweaks. I think the arm size need to be taken in, and the bottom front leveled off. So first I'm going to take care of these areas right here, and then try it on again and see how it's looking there. It looks like the front is just right, especially once the facings are added in, it ought to meet just nicely here in the front. So let's head back over to the sewing room, take care of this, try it on again, and see where we stand. Just to give you an idea of what I've done here before I take this in, I just used 1.25 inches at the very top, and then kind of tapered it off to where it meets right about midway down the side, because it felt like that was about where it stopped being so baggy. This is not very scientific at all, and I'm sure this is not the right way to make these adjustments, but it's what I know, so I'm doing it. And either way, even if I might not have matched up both sides exact, what I will do, if this fits nicely, is to make the adjustments on the pattern pieces so that it'll be, perfectly even. The left and right side will match up perfectly when I cut out the real fabric or the good fabric. So let's get these basted up and see where we are. All right, let's go back over and test fit again. Okay, so we're back over at the mirror, and I can tell already, so I just left the extra fabric on there, but I can tell that it fits much more nicely under the arms here. And I kind of feel like there's something going on with the front, that it's not quite right, it's not hanging quite straight, and I'm thinking maybe I did not do the full bust adjustment big enough, so that could be it. I'm kind of sure that that's it now that I'm looking at it. So I might end up needing to cut the front pieces out one more time, make another pattern adjustment, recut the fronts. Luckily, I have enough extra fabric left. Stitch it to the back, and then see where we go from there. And I'm almost kind of wondering if this needs to come up higher too. And sometimes what I'll do when I'm not sure about these things, I'll try on a cardigan, similar weight cardigan that maybe I already have that fits well, and see how it fits here. Do I need to bring this up, or is it okay where it's hanging right there? So just another little trick that I do, but I definitely know that something's not right with these fronts here. So I'm going to make adjustments to the pattern pieces and recut and stitch those up, unpick this one, stitch the new fronts onto the back, and see where we stand. But I'll already be ahead of the game because I know that I can make this adjustment here to the pattern pieces. So if you're ready, let's go look at those pattern pieces. Okay, back over here at the table, and I'm going to make these adjustments to my pattern pieces. The first one I'm going to do is the side seam here, because I know that one has to be done. And if you guys don't use one of these, I think it's called a French curve or a French ruler, definitely invest in one of these. They're not that pricey, but they really make the job a lot easier when you're making alterations to a pattern. It makes for a smoother transition. You can do those curves very evenly, smoothly. Definitely a worthy purchase. So I just marked my 1 1/4 here at the top, and then all I'm going to do, I know I want to end right here at where the waist indentation is, and so I'll just put my curve right up there. And sometimes you have to kind of fiddle with the curve to get it to where the slope or the actual curve amount matches the area that you're working on the pattern piece. But it's not difficult. It's one of those things that I wouldn't want to be without when I'm making adjustments, for sure. Okay, so that looks good there. And then the other thing that I needed to do was to adjust my full bust adjustment. So this might be a little trickier, and I don't really think that I did it like right the first time. Just eyeballing it. Oh my goodness, I feel like I should have done a lot better job on it. So what I'm going to do is flip this over, and I am going to hold this up to myself in the mirror and mark the full point or the apex of the bust. I didn't do that the first time. I just totally spitballed it, and it wasn't quite right. So I do have a mirror in this room. It's just a short mirror, but I can see my torso in it. I'm going to walk over and do that now, and then we'll adjust this piece. Okay, so you guys can see right there was the apex, and I only came out to here with my full bust. So that's a difference of a few inches. So shame on me for not doing it the right way the first time, but we will take care of this now. I have a separate pair of scissors I use for cutting paper. Grab those. I keep this little tie. It's a little piece of fabric or trim tied on there, and these are my paper scissors. So I am going to, Once again, I'm sure that I am not doing this by the book. And you know, maybe it's time I really studied these things a lot more closely. So note to self, I'm going to get my straight ruler and I'll be right back. So I was never formally trained in sewing. It's just something like a lot of us learn it on my own as I go type of thing. And because of that, I'm pretty sure that I don't do things the best way oftentimes. So this is one of those don't do what I'm doing. Don't do as I say and don't do as I do.
Once I get this.
Like I said, I kind of just wing it half the time, which is not necessarily good. Grab my tape. I know there are some really good tutorials on the right way to do this online, and I am going to invest in watching those. And I have little scraps of this tracing paper that I keep just for this purpose here. When you only need a small sliver and you don't want to cut any more off of the roll, the tape I'm using is medical tape. I just got it on Amazon. And the great thing about it, it's kind of like a paper tape you can iron over, and it doesn't melt or gunk up your iron. So I think what I'm going to do is hold this pattern piece up to my torso and see how it looks before cutting out another piece of the fabric. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. All right, I think we're better. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut out 2 new fronts and stitch them onto the back, and we'll see how we're looking there. All right, so here we go. And FYI, I made a cutting mistake on this fabric, just the way the fabric was laid out. So this is doesn't match there. That is not intentional. I don't think it'll impact what I'm doing here though. I feel like it's better for sure. And due to the adjustments that I made on the front, now we've got this that I'll have to fix. The front, I'm pretty sure I did not do the full bust adjustment the proper way, so we've got some mismatch there, but I'm just going to trim that off. Is that showing up? I'm just going to even that out, and I think it'll be okay. I've still got the problem, though, of the front pieces wanting to do this as they go down the body. And it could be this fabric, or it could be, you know, it could be the adjustments that I made. If there is going to be an enclosure up here at the top, like a snap or a button, that'll help. What do you guys think? Give me some comments on what's going on down there and how to fix it. Because I'm not really comfortable proceeding with my good fabric until I have this fixed. Let me know what you think. In the meantime, I might keep fiddling with it. I might go ahead and wrap this video up because I think it's been a long time now. You guys are probably bored with this, but I'm going to keep working on this throughout the day, and I'll see how it ends up. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that you were able to get some work done in your sewing space or work on a project that you have in progress right now. And I do appreciate you keeping me company while I try to get this right. Before I sign off, I did promise you guys that I would show you what a Kwik Sew pattern looks like. And for this particular pattern, it's just one sheet. I apologize for this crinkling. Let's go ahead and just rip off the Band-Aid here. So it looks like this, and it's more of like a thin paper rather than a tissue paper feel. Yeah, but all the pieces are laid out on this one sheet. And I do like the fact that the different sizes are color-coded. And there are some, I had mentioned that there weren't any notches, but there are, like on the camisole. Let me get the pattern envelope. I also want to show you guys the instructions as well. So the pattern does include a camisole. And one other point I want to come back to, but for the camisole, there are notches marked. So there's just no markings, not even on the sleeve that I can tell for the cardigan. Although at the center, the sleeve is cut on the fold, which is kind of interesting. I've never done that before. There are a notch on the hood piece there. It's really interesting to me that the sleeve is cut on the fold. I've never done a sleeve that way, so that'll be maybe nice. And then the instructions look like this. So they're printed, it's just one page. They're printed vertically. It shows the general information, the layout, and then we start with the instructions right here. Is that showing up for you guys? Yeah. And then flip it over, and there's just more instructions that kind of run vertically down the page. So I kind of like that. I think it takes a little getting used to if we're not used to seeing that, but I do kind of like that. The other point that I want to show you guys, so where I was having trouble getting the center front opening of the cardigan to kind of hang straight, there is a closure at the top. If that's clear to you guys. And when I kind of held it up on myself closed at the throat there, it did hang straight. So I'm wondering if that's just what's going to make all the difference, and it's not a matter of trying to recut it or refashion it. It's just it needs to be closed at the top. Let me know your thoughts on that. I'm curious to know if you've experienced this before, and was it a problem? How did you address it? Yeah.